classical firm Yiddishkeit is based on. Classical, Orthodox Jewish teaching, is based on. So that's the major. That's before we talk about inside and outside of marriage, sex. That's a different conversation. We'll get to it. But for now, that's the core of the book. That's the core of the book. Was that a good restatement, sir?
Yeah, that was an excellent restatement. Now, is your depiction of those two cherubs being locked in sexual embrace in the Holy of Holies, is that a controversial? Is that accurate, or is that, yeah?
That's accurate, right? It's based on a Talmudic passage in Tractate Yuma 54a, right, where the Kruvim are described as Me'urim Zebezeh, which is Mem Ayin Reish, right, Me'urim, right, and Ayin Reish, right, is the two-letter root, which means air, awake, and also comes from erva, sexual, and it's actually noted elliptically in many sources. Again, this is not something you're going to find in, some little textbook on Jewish sexuality, some modern, Jewish sexual ethics book put out by this or that movement. You're not going to find this, right? But in the sources themselves, it's actually very clear. It's actually very, very clear. There's many, many, many sources that support it. Some of them are adduced in the footnotes to the book Mystery of Love in chapters 1, 2, and 3.
Uh-huh.
I hope that's helpful. Yes, that's a real description. But again, that doesn't mean it's not, we're not giving it a superficial explanation. It's not, oh wow, that shows that Judaism is sex positive. That's not what it means at all.
Right.
You know what I'm saying that's a very superficial, tinsel, kind of cheap explanation. It's clearly not what it's about. Right? We don't need that for that. It's about something much, much deeper. It's about that holiness is modeled, right, in the sexual, clearly in the sacred sexual. That's the deep and profound idea. Now you raise, Levi, a second question, right? Big second question, which you talk about the difference between what we'll call sex in marriage and sex outside of marriage, and you raise the classical double bind of a young American male. Okay, we're still going to call you young. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. 42.
42. It still rates as young, which is as follows. It seems like you get married, and this wonderful sexual thing starts getting kind of boring and repetitive. There was just statistics that just came out about the amount of American, couples in their 40s who have platonic marriages, right? And those who do have sex, approximately twice a week, average time, is 3.5 minutes, and that includes the time that the husband is begging. You know what I mean? So something's going wrong in the system. So on the other hand, I'm kind of afraid to get married because the young American male says I'm going to lose my access to this world, which is one of the few places I access being fully alive. On the other hand, my tradition is teaching me that the sexual is only holy in this context and that it's sinful in another context. So that's a big double bind. Exactly. That's a big double bind. So let's try and hit this one square on, okay? So what's the obviously, of course, like you always do, cut me off or interject or, object or comment, at any time, which is our standard policy on the Levi 4 dialogues. So let's take a look at it for a second. So what's the Torah really saying? I mean, what's the big chidush? What's the big original, stunning, sacred idea that the Torah is trying to bring to the world? So that idea is that you can't de-story the sexual. To de-story is to destroy. So what does that mean, Gafni? Okay, what are you talking about? What does that mean? So what it means is that in the world before the Torah, there was a split between the sexual, which is this powerful, force of nature, and paganism. The sexual is recognized as this powerful force of nature, but it's not connected, right, to the story of the two individuals engaging each other. Same thing's true in the East, right? In Eastern religions, you've heard, of course, of Tantra, right?
Yes.
So Tantra is this kind of practice, the sexual practice, the spiritual sexual practice, or whichever one likes to talk about in America today. But they forget that Tantra has nothing to do with personal relationship. You can have a tantric relationship with a yogini whose name you don't know, right? She's a person that you practice with. There's a practice of a certain kind of sexual, spiritual practice, but it has nothing to do with personal relationship. So what the Torah did is, the Torah came and said, the personal and the sexual need to be connected, right? So knowing the name of the person you're with. When I say knowing the name, I mean that more than metaphorically. I mean not just that you know her name is Judy, but you know that her name is Sylvia, right? But that you know her name in a deep way, meaning you're connected to her. You're sharing a story. You're sharing a commitment. You're sharing a vision. So that connection of the personal and the sexual was the great chidush, the great, kind of original spiritual space of insight that the Torah brought to the world. Now, what we called that was marriage, right? Marriage is an expression of the linking of the personal and the sexual. Now, stay with me for a second, okay?
Yeah.
So for example, Catholicism took that one step further. Catholicism said not only do you need to be married to make the sexual a real spiritual possibility, but even if there's a possibility that you're not going to be married, right, then it's not holy. So therefore, the Catholicism says there's no possibility of divorce, right? Because it means you're not really committed. And we want to link, but it's an extension of the original biblical idea. You follow?
Yeah.
Now, what's happened is, as modernity's emerged, the question has become, well, what level of commitment do we need, for the story, right, to be sufficiently, real to make the sexual holy? Do we need marriage? Do we need marriage forever? Do we need a committed relationship that's considering marriage, right? Do we need people who are committed to being together for this month? I mean, in other words, what's the level of commitment? That's really the question. And that's what the Torah basically said was that we don't want the sexual energy, right, to be accessed without, right, in the Eastern way or in the pagan way, without a deep commitment to a shared story. Then the question becomes, well, what's the level of shared story that you need for that commitment? So Orthodox Judaism says marriage, right?
Yes.
Conservative Judaism, even I'm talking to serious conservative people who are writing like conservative Tshuvot responsum, will say no, maybe committed relationship, right? Et cetera, et cetera. I mean, that's the question, and it's really one of the questions I've looked at seriously in my life, right? In other words, at a time when I actually went out, before I came to America, 3 years ago, there was a period of about a year and a half when I went out with quite a few people, over a period of 3 years, right? And, my feeling at that time was that actually it was possible to have like a deeply, emotionally present, fully shown up, committed relationship, which wasn't committed to marriage. It was committed to, the period of time that we were together, and we would know each other deeply and understand each other deeply, but it actually wasn't about getting married, and that was the parameter of commitment that was possible. Now, one of the things that I learned was that I was wrong, right? Is that actually wasn't true, that actually, at least with the people that I was involved with, that even though we all said it was a possibility, even though they're all fully mutual and loving relationships, and there's 1,000 written correspondences that validate that, right? Nonetheless, it didn't work, and as the vessel didn't hold, which has moved me in a very deep way to really reconsider, right? Really re-engaging and resubmitting myself to the Orthodox position, right? Because I really began to understand that possibility of having, a committed, powerful, beautiful relationship for the time that we've agreed to be together, right? And having deep sexuality in that time, or whatever kind of sexuality we had, actually, even when everybody says yes, and everybody signs up, and everyone knows exactly, what the parameters are, that often that vessel's not strong enough to hold the light, and that 2 months later, when a woman looks back on it, a woman of a particular, kind of archetype nature, she may look back at it and say, oh my God, I didn't want to be there. I really said that I was showing up for this, but really I wanted that. And since I didn't get that, I'm now mad. In other words, you begin to see the wisdom of the classical Orthodox position, that says, hey, actually you need a full commitment of marriage, or a full commitment of that you're going to go out for the next 2 years and see if you're going to get married, minimally. So that's the question. So what I'm trying to do is actually reframe for you the issue. The issue is not you magically get married, sex becomes a mitzvah, outside of marriage it's a sin. That's not what Judaism is saying. What Judaism is saying is that the sexual and the personal relationship, the personal knowing, the personal commitment need to be related. Then, even within Orthodoxy, there's a question of what level